go, top of the climb. You got a really nice downhill after that. Take advantage of it. It's going to be a really hard climb, so you better rest up on the other side. Coming down this hill into downtown Yorkshire. I don't know if it's actually downtown Yorkshire or not. You take this hard left and you're up another climb, another tough feature. You can see that 9, 8, 7% gradient. This isn't super long climb, but it is going to be a tough one and maybe a good place for an attack even on lap 1. There are so many places to blow this field apart. You're really going to have to think about how you want to ride this course, and the more you can pre-ride it, probably the better. Coming up on the sprint point, this is going to be about 11.2 kilometers into the first lap when you cross this sprint point. So just be ready, be taking a look at how far you are. After the sprint point, there are some downhills that you can take advantage of. Again, on this course, you're just really going to have to take advantage of these downhills. This is one of the flatter portions of the course, but saving your energy you can
I'm trying to get in.
You have on these climbs later.
I've never raced on this course.
So important that I can't overemphasize it.
There it is right there.
Coming up to this corner here, there's another climb. The gradient gets up to 6-7%. So it is a punchy climb, something you need to be aware of.
What you can do is,
a lot of these climbs are really momentum climbs where you're going to want to put in a little dig before you get to the climb so you can carry enough momentum up where you don't have to absolutely try to kill it up. Here we are coming up on the finish of the course. You're going to come up on this right-hand turn. When you take this right, it goes back uphill to an uphill finish. This finish isn't the same as Richmond in terms of how long the hill is, but it is a pretty steep hill. As you can see there, the gradient goes up to 10%. So you have to be ready to kind of punch over this hill, get ready for long attacks into the finish. It's going to be a really tough sprint. If you're a sprinter, you're going to want to try to ride wheels and get to where it's a little bit flatter and unleash your sprint. If you're a puncher or a climber, you're going to want to probably make a long bomb for the finish. Drag that field out, get rid of your sprinters early so that they're not trying to sit on your wheel. It is going to be a very tactical sprint there at the end, but a fun sprint. And you should be able to use some team tactics here if you have a couple people left in your group to try to attack this finish in a couple different. We'll let it run all the way to the finish. Here we are coming to the finish. You can see here at the end it's quite uphill. You are going to be doing 2 laps of the Harrogate Circuit, so it's going to be important to know all the points on the second lap for Harlow, Fields, Hill, the forward climb, and the sprint. So I really want to emphasize for all categories there are 2 laps of this circuit you have to do. So it's really important to know where everything is both laps. I would highly encourage you to take a pre-ride, especially of this course. There are just so many things going on. So on this slide, I wanted to give everybody an idea of where the major features on this course were and how long they were. So you can see Harlow Hill, 1.6 kilometer. Fields Hill, 0.9 kilometers long. The forward climb is 1.2 kilometers. For the feature start columns, this is where you will actually come to the start of the feature on each lap so that you can kind of prep yourself on when these big climbs come. There are a lot of little climbs, and I didn't list them all out. And I will say for the sprint, that is where the end of the sprint is. That's where the sprint banner is. So for the 2019 Harrogate Circuit, my total expected times were taken from the Relentless into the Red race last weekend, as well as another race that was done today. 3.2, Cat D, 52:30 to 55 minutes and 0.5 watts per. All right, let's turn it over to Eric for the bike choice.
Hey Zwifters, Eric with Zwift Insider here. We're looking at bike recommendations for the UCI Harrogate Worlds course. This is an interesting course in terms of bike choice and just in terms of racing it because it is rarely flat. It's very lumpy. But at the same time, none of the climbs are steep and or long enough for a lightweight bike to really make a difference. The interesting thing, if you look at some of the top performers in terms of aero bikes on this route, in terms of race bikes really, the top performers would be maybe the Tron bike and the S-Works Benge with the disc wheel set. That's what you see a lot of racers racing. Those two setups turn in the exact same lap time on this route, but the Tron bike is actually about a second faster up the KOM, the key climb on this route, about a 3-minute climb, about a second faster than the S-Works with discs, which means the S-Works with discs is faster on the descents and the flats than the Tron. So where do you want your advantage? Do you want it on the climb, or do you want it on the descents and the flats? Most people are going to choose the climb, which makes the Tron bike the most obvious choice here. So if you don't have the Tron bike, the next best option for high-level Zwifters would be a good fast frame like the S-Works Benge, the Cervelo S5, one of those real slippery frames. Couple that with either the NB 7.8 wheels, which are decent climbing wheels but also very aero, or the Zip 858 wheels.
I'm on the SL7 with DT Swiss 60s on. I'm not sure this video was made when they had the SL7 on here. So.
Those will give you decent climbing performance as well, and are quite aero, but not quite as heavy as the discs. If you're not up at those high levels and you don't have access to those top level frames and wheels, go with the Canyon Aero 2021. This is an excellent all-arounder frame, good climber, good aero performance. Couple that with the DT Swiss Arc 62 wheels, which are available at a nice low level for a good price. And that'll be a good all-arounder rig. You could also put the Zip 808 wheels on.
Who is a former national hill climb champion in the UK, to beat distance on that climb. She has an opportunity on this descent to try and get back in touch. Likewise with Lieberman, as the gap actually continues to grow out towards 5 seconds now. So one more opportunity in an intermediate sprint to score for Heino. And 2024, 6 points in arrears to Heino.
Now, as you said, it is difficult to close a gap. You really need to make a big effort, and of course you're on the limit when you got dropped. It wasn't just like you missed a move and you were fresh and can try and jump across the gap. We've got 53 minutes of intense racing in the legs, and I do think it's going to be tough for those three riders to get back in contact, and that means we have 14 riders in this front group. Monley Keller, Lou Bates, a big surprise as you just mentioned, and Rachel Lieberman from 2024. So there's now only just one rider in the front for Team 2024. Lieberman, of course, will keep on fighting, because of course 30 places all score points, so every rider out on the course at the moment will still fight to gain valuable points for the team, and it's the team that accumulates the most points out on the road across the finish line. And of course, taking the points at the sprints and the Queen of the Mountains, the team with the most points at the end of the night will run out the winners. So it's not just as simple as first across the line. There's the feather up, power up being used by Catherine Curie there. Is she thinking about some extra points here, because she drifts to the front? No real sharp arrowhead. I think riders are just kind of almost looking at each other here, Hannah, because nobody wants to make a big effort with such a short distance to go. It's just too risky, isn't it?
It is, but a little surge to the line, and Catherine Curie perhaps thought that she would try and just sneak a few points there with no real rush, but this is where it really starts to get tactical. Those riders really deciding, where do I want to use the effort? I've got one last effort in the legs, and the one that really matters, the one to the finish line where the big points can be scored on the line. 30 for the first 30 riders, should I say, across the line score, and Heino 13 points there, 2024 down with 6, drops the call with the sole representation of Joss Loudon, scoring the 6 points in Cryo RDT with the 5. Kiss Racing Team with Eiley Gardner, who's just up towards the front there. She comes into pole position at the moment.
Well, this little group, as they roll into the finish now, just 2 kilometres to go. And there is the Lou Bates group. Huback and co. Still 5 riders, remember, from Team Hino in this 14-woman group with 1.8 kilometres to go. Are we going to see a long-range attack? Williams now moves to the front. Huback not too far away as well. Hino Racing, 5 riders, remember here. Huback, Hansen, Whitelaw, Lethbridge and Williams. Kuczynski is here for Team 2024 in the green and the blue. Clutterbuck and McIver for Team Cryo RDT in the blue and white. Eiley Gardner is there from KRT. She's got a very, very good finish on her. Watch out for her. Catherine Curie, 2 wins already this season. And Moroni, 3 races in. She has been absolutely on fire. And remember, we have 2 riders as well from Canyon Esports. Mary Wilkinson is there and Christine Pohl, the German. It's a fascinating front group, and they are still all together. Had a 1,300 metres to go.
Well, you can almost cut the tension with a knife, can't you? Which rider is going to, and from which team is going to make that first move? And they turn right, and looks like Clutterbuck, the first to lead through. As you see the Flamme Rouge denoting 1 kilometre of racing left remaining. And, Curry sitting there nice and comfortable up towards the front, and Williams just chips off the front, takes a small gap. As the riders go through, they'll turn left here.
Oh, this is it. We're heading in to the final. This is the only little flat bit you could actually, I said you could cut the atmosphere with a knife and then use it for a scone a bit later on. Who is going to get the cream today? They're going to swing right on to the base of the climb. Look at the ride-ons here. Give these riders a bit of a ride-on, because this is where you need to get your timing absolutely to perfection. 550 metres to go. Williams now 8 watts a kilo. Clutterbuck is there as well. Hino Racing dominant in terms of numbers, but have they got the strength in their legs? Will they get the timing right? It looks like a little group starting to go clear. Kuczynski is now neck and neck with Clutterbuck. Alice Lethbridge is there as well. It's all coming back together. Catherine Curie is there as well. This is absolutely spectacular stuff. Lethbridge, Kuczynski, Clutterbuck and Syndic are there. Power-ups are now being used. It's all about timing, as we know. It is now Clutterbuck who goes to the front from the Cryo RDT. Loudon now moves for drops, so Loudon is there, looking very, very good, and another power-up's been used. Williams, Curie, MacGyver now in front for Cryo. This is amazing. MacGyver takes the win. What an absolute turn-up for the Brooks there. MacGyver from Cryo RDT times her power-up and her sprint to perfection to take victory here in Harrogate on round 4 of season 2 of the Zwift Racing League. Racing at its best. Well, what a superb sprint. That sprint seemed to go on forever. Here is the confirmation, and there is the result. Beth MacGyver of Scotland takes the win for Cryo RDT. Mary Wilkinson, well, we said she's back in form. She certainly is, with a bang there. Second for Mary Wilkinson of Canyon Esports. Third, Catherine Curie there for I Race Like a Girl. Then Vicky Whitelaw and Cecilia Hansen, 4th and 5th for Hino. Steph Clutterbuck, the second run from Cryo RDT. What a ride by that squad tonight. Josh Loudon is there in 7th. Caroline Williams in 8th. Kristen Kuczynski solid as ever in 9th. And then Eiley Gardner in 10th place. What a superb race that was.
Well, a real drag race to the finish line. And the power-ups, MacIver timing it to perfection with that aero power-up. Brilliant stuff for Cryo RDT. And here we can see our individual winner. I think she's in shock. She can't believe it. And it looks to me like she's a few tears in the eyes there, Matt.
It's a big win. I mean, that was absolutely superb. I mean, she did the work. I think she had a teammate with her as well, but importantly, she timed that sprint to perfection. We saw several riders use the power-ups lower down the slopes. She used it just at the right time. She still had it as she crossed the line. That is what you need to do. And that was a really, really tough sprint there. I seemed to be like commentating on it for a long, long time. It was agonising, but there we go. Finish line points. Beth MacGyver, 40 points. Mary Wilkinson with 35. Curie with 30. As we see a group just go underneath there, nearly a minute behind. Whitelaw with 27. Hansen at 26. Clutterbuck, Loudon, Williams, Kuczynski and Eiley Gardner having consistent with the KRT there with 21 points. And what we have to do now is throw them into our computer, get the abacus and look at the net result as we get to the exact halfway point of season 2. So here we go. Well, there we go. With 5 riders in the front group. They could hardly be beaten on the night. Could the Hino Racing win again with 127 points? Canyon Esports solid as ever in second, but look at that great riding there by Creo RDT, third on the night and the individual win. 2024 again, super consistent, equal on points with iRace Like a Girl with 43. Drops Lacole, good rider by then with 30. Kiss Racing Team with 24. Team Timco Silicon Valley Bank 18, equal with Saris and the Pros Closet. And rounding out the top 10 points-wise, Ensured, powered by Pedal Power. Well, Hannah, I don't know about you, I'm absolutely exhausted. That was an epic race, really attritional and a superb sprint at the end. And I wouldn't say a surprise result, but a really well-deserved result there for Cryo RDT.
Brilliant. I think the way that they rode during the race with both Beth McIver and Steph Clutterbuck in the front group. Steph Clutterbuck scoring in the Queen of the Mountains, and I think putting the points on the table, on the scoreboard, and McIver just finishing it off. I think it just shows how happy, how thrilled she was with the victory, the individual victory in Harrogate. And I think that result there and how they scored moves them up as well in the team overall standings. But for McIver, Scottish rider, fantastic stuff. Catherine Curry, after her two individual wins, taking third.
This is the few highlights of this one, the final climb, of course. Which was sort of early on in the day. It was the highlights of the sprints. Action all the way, really selective race. No jumping off the front as such. Some riders going backwards. Of course, the view you've seen in the past. This is the way races always goes. Generally behind out. It does some riders really hang in there and suffer. Certainly lots of suffering today. Suffering to join one rider of the day there, just loud, representative from Drops of the Coal in that front group. As we get to the finish, and I'll leave you to call that finish because I don't think I've got anything left to say myself with Dave for the men's race. But here we go. Well, you can see the finish there. I mean, that really was something special. I mean, sprinting, the timing was absolutely spot on.
It was perfect. Williams from Hino was the rider who wanted to try and lead it out from the bottom of the climb, the Zwift draft house on the left-hand side, and the gap did start to open up with Kulczynski. You've got Clutterbuck there up towards the front, and one rider from Hino. But McIver really leaving it quite late. You can just see her coming round on the outside. She's about midway through the peloton right now, and Loudon actually had a superb run towards the finish line. She had the aero power up. She opened up a gap, but when McIver decided to go, she really lit the burners. She came with a lot of power, a lot of force, and she starts to come on the left-hand side of the finish round Joss Loudon with that power up. And no rider had anything left to match the effort from the rider from Scotland. And just look at the sheer power here. Mary Wilkinson making a late charge towards the line, but it was too late. McIver takes the individual victory in Harrogate.
Brilliant stuff. It was a wonderful race. It was getting treated when we got to Harrogate. The crowd loving it as well, but that is the net result. Hino Racing 4 from 4 as we get to the halfway point. 80 points to the goal. Canyon Esports still solid as a rock in their second place with 74. 2024, their third, 69. I Race Like a Girl, fourth with 68. Moving up, Cryo RDT after the superb performance today. In fifth with Ensured, powered by Pedal Power. Then we have Saris of the Pros Closet, Kiss Racing, equal with the team Swedish Swifters. Rounding out the top 10 teams at the halfway point. Drops the goal. Well, Hannah, we'll see you at the end of the programme. Thanks very much indeed for your insight, analysis and enthusiasm as ever. But it's time to bring in the legend that is Dave Towell for some men's racing now.
Well, thanks, Matt. I am stoked. This is going to be a monster day of racing. You know, we were talking about Innsbruck, how that was the hardest climb we've ever seen. Well, there's almost 100 meters more of climbing out here today. This is the hardest course I think we're going to see all season. So the guys are having at it. This is going to be an absolute throwdown. They realize they're running out of time as we're coming up on the middle point of the season here. If you want to make some headway on PO Auto Ceramic Speed or Canyon, this is your moment. So you got to make hay when it's out in the field. And boy, do they have a lot to work with 3 laps out on this course. Each lap is almost 14 kilometers back, as we saw in the women's race there. Only the strong survive. We've got an OSS situation.
We certainly have, David. Before we look again to what's in store today, let's have a quick look back at that race in Innsbruck last week, because it was spectacular. This week we headed to Innsbruck for the KOM after party.
3 laps, including the leg snapper 3 times. The hardest climb we've ever had in the Zwift Racing League. It's a brutal course out there today.
Look at some of the power that's been dropped. 9 watts a kilo, just saw 11, 12 watts a kilo. We're just heading towards the sprint point here. A few power-ups being used now. Ingo Reichardt of the Kirkman E-Racing team. Oh, it's going to be very, very tight indeed. Carol from Mel, from Glendes. Evans on the front, overtaken now. How about Glendes on the Calas E-Racing team? Another very, very hard point sprint.
Look at that, a flurry of power-ups.
All the power's been dropped. Reichardt takes that ahead of Glendes of the Calas E-Racing team.
This has gone full gas now. You can see multiple splits.
Holton, Jones and McClinchy now have 4.5 seconds over Corey Williams.
Corey Williams, he helped shut that break down.
The riders being dropped at the relentless pace. 1 kilometre to go. Ikeda is clear. This could be an absolutely sensational win. Obed takes the lead. Obed with a perfectly timed sprint takes the win ahead of Rada Bialstam. Takato Ikeda in 3rd.
What a race.
Freddie Obed took his first individual win for the Legion of Los Angeles, and this is the situation at the head of the series points. PO Auto Ceramic Speed, they're leading with 50 and 9 points, but not too far behind Canyon Esports at 54. Then we have Saris and Rose Quasi Dutch Racing, Legion of Los Angeles, the Kirkmare E-Racing team, revelations of the season so far. Swift Warriors, Jam 11, Special Pace Clubs, Callas Esports, World Leagues Winners, and 9th, equal with them, ensure powered by Pebble Power. We'll bring in Dave again just to pull out a couple of the teams and riders to look out for, because the men's race is underway. Dave, quick picks from our lineup today.
Well, I'm definitely going to look at Kirkmeyer today. Their team that, if they're going to have an impact in this league, today is their day to prove it, to make a mark. A rider like Nico Reichardt, I would certainly be watching for. Also, Holt Racing. Obviously, I'm not talking about PO Auto Ceramic Speed or Canyon, because they've already proven themselves to be the gold standard out here. But Holt Racing is looking to make a move as well. They've got Nicky Hug. He should be well suited to this course. It's just going to be body blow after body blow out here. You really want to be a bike racing guru, I would say. Always floating to the top, but not quite out of the water, right? Nobody wants to be a solo breakaway unless it's in the final 500 meters today, is the reality of how strong these are, the gladiators of Zwift. As we saw a dramatic selection made early, Matt. What do you think? Same thing here today. Front group is smaller than 30 riders the first lap when it's done and dusted.
Yeah, I think this is, as you said, the racing sometimes is very different from men's to women's racing. But I think the bottom line is, this is a nutritional course. IRL and Zwift as well. It's a punishing course. Great analogy there, body blow after body blow. It's almost like a boxing match. You've just got to suffer your way through this course, but you've got to be attentive, you've got to be quick on your feet as well, not miss any splits. But we're already quite a way into the race. Looking at Freddie Ovett last week's winner, we've already gone 5.9 Ks. They have absolutely ripped up that first part of the course. But yeah, I'm expecting, as we head towards the finish, given the punishing nature of today's course today, for there to be a select group that we get to the finish. But at the moment, so far, we've got a fair few riders still hanging on, but we've yet to hit the K-Way.
Yeah, triple crown of racing out here. Will anyone ever win 3 races in one season? I thought Catherine Curie was going to come close, and she's got more cracks at it as the season goes on. But Freddie Ovett could certainly be a back-to-back winner. He would be on my short list down here today. I was also looking at Ryan Larson of Ceres, the pros closet. That's a rider, that yellow and green jersey. They're right in that cluster of teams from Dutch Racing, Ceres, Legion of LA. That's the team of Freddie Ovett and Kierkemeyer. These are the squads that are all hovering right there between 3rd and 7th. There's another name to watch, Alec Cowan. I've seen he's been training in Tucson, Arizona, putting in monster miles right now. As we take a look at the Legion of Los Angeles team, this is a fun team to watch. Their rider today, we mentioned Freddie Ovett, we talked about Alec Cowan, the Canadian, but Tyler Williams out of Santa Rosa, California, Matt. He rode for the Israel Cycling Academy back before they became Israel Startup and the current Chris Froome iteration of the team. He's got high-level experience. He's got a huge engine, and he's all in on the Legion of LA program. So watch out for him today. I heard you and Hannah talking about Kit, and I love Legion of LA. It's a solid look here as we roll them along, Matt. Maybe, as you said, every race, it's like an opera. There's always going to be a story. There's going to be drama along the way. One thing, maybe the men ease into this one a little bit more as we see Anders Foldager up on the front of the Pio Auto Ceramics being Matt. This is the number 1 team in the world right now.
Yeah, they are finding so much strength and depth. They really have. And of course, in the form of Anders Foldager and Nicholas Pedersen, both stood on the podium at the first ever esports world championships. Of course, Foldager was 2nd and Pedersen was 3rd. And as you said, they're the leading team. And we're on to the climb in short order, and they were absolutely romping up this climb. Some massive numbers being thrown out, 8 watts per kilo. It normally takes me double the time to get to this point on the climb, and I'm going really, really hard. They are absolutely flying on this. 8 kilometres under the virtual wheels done so far. Lionel Busak at the front as we look at Foldager in his cave there, knocking out a nice casual 550 watts, 87 RPM, and he's just staying in the bunch. This isn't an attack. You need to hold 500 watts just to stay in the group. Again, another real kind of indicator of anybody who's ridden onto it of how hard and higher level we've got right here at this race.
Yeah, Lionel Viasen is a perfect example of a true blue Zwifting star. This rider out of Belgium, Matt, he was so close in that Zwift Academy. I know it was right. He was one of the final 2. That was heartbreaking to watch. But what I love, in typical Belgian fashion, he just gets right back at it. You can see him up on the front right now for the Canyon team. Now, he has been phenomenal. If you had a rider of the season up to this point, we've talked about Freddie Ovett, Michael Volks, who won for Dutch Racing, the first scratch rate or points race that we had this year. I'd have to give it to Lionel, to tell you the truth. He's never, including the team time trial where his Canyon squad was 2nd, he has not gone outside of the top 3, and I know he'll be disappointed if he does so today, but it looks like we've got some points, 3, 2, and 1 points. We score these 3 deep, and it's a surge up and over the top, and is that going to be Freddie Ovett? It looks like it is. The Australian is back, and he is in full effect. Last week's winner is crushing souls out here. That was an authoritative sprint win.
Well, that was, he was thrown out just under 12 watts a kilo there to score some points for the Legion of Los Angeles. Of course, his squad sit 5th. They put out a really good team time trial just a couple of weeks back. The team time trial next week, of course. But starting, as he finished, winning a sprint, Knudsen in 2nd. And Chris McGlinchey, good to see the rider from Vitus Pro Cycling. They've had a relatively disappointing start to the season so far, but we know once they get it right, they really can deliver. But that's an emphatic start from the Legion. I didn't think we'd see Freddie Ovett going quite so early. It just shows that team are riding on the crest of the wave, and I know that they are riding together as well. In Los Angeles, they've got their new service course kitted out, they've got the new kit, they've got the team car. They are just loving life at the moment, and great to see.
It's one of the best stories in cycling right now. Legion of LA, no doubt about it. I just saw another great story. Former police officer, Matt, Michael Knudsen in Denmark, where he was a police officer for years. He now works with special needs children. He's an incredible human being who recently set the Everesting record on Zwift. He's got a massive capacity. He's a great story. And watch, he's just part of what makes Pio Auto Ceramics be a next level team. They're the high note of men's racing out here. They just don't miss a step. You might be wondering why do you see 59 points, not 60? Well, just like anybody, you've got to be able to verify your performances, heart rate, all of these things. And they did have a little bit of a stumble there, but nothing that's keeping them outside of the top scoring team out here. So another rider to watch out here today. I love the aggression that we're seeing. Matt, they're going to do significant damage out here on lap number 1. They've got the 20 pounds, 10 stone sledgehammer out, and they are just wailing away on the front out here as we're looking at Odema opening up a small gap, but you can see that's what the damage looks like behind. Boy, Matt, I know you love riding out here in Yorkshire. I get it, but it's fun to watch racing here because it brings out the best in our field. They've got such a tapestry to work with. This is Ollie Jones that we're looking at now. You can see why we're sussing out the top riders today as they're looking to pick up points here. It's going to be top Thrall, Canadian. Nice job for its short pedal power.
Yeah, good rider. We know Thrall is one big four, so it's got a real powerful sprint. Put that to good effect there. Taking that's quite an interesting little hotspot sprint there because it doesn't come into sight till very, very late indeed. Thrall from Jones, Freddie O'Meara, then recovering quickly to take another point there for Legion of Los Angeles. And it looks like Steinman has come across to this little group. We've got a good morning. Ovett, Thrall, Jones, and Steinman now 3 seconds in front. That's the early leaderboard there in terms of points scored out on the road. Legion in front, short second, to ceramic speed, third, equally like to support the smashing point. Breakaway forward.
I did a race.
It's interesting because it's one more back in it. 4 is a tough number because there's not points for everybody who hold on to the next bonus. We only scored a 3, 2, 1 points. Looking at this group now, I think a lot of guys here, as we do have a chance to hit the reset button, no one, Matt, is going to be surprised. They'll all have reconnoitered this course. This is one of the most raced on courses that we have on Zwift. As we said, it brings out the best in our fields. So it's not going to be anybody that's expecting to get a free ride here. As a matter of fact, I think there might be a few riders that are surprised to look around and see a group this large as we take some inventory here. Each lap at just under 14K, so we're about to come through and move into the middle part of the race now. Phase here. You survived the first barrage on lap number 1. These guys don't offer any quarter. There's none asked for, there's none given.
I think this is really is an still got a pretty solid group here. We're looking at around, we've got around 65, so we've got 66, 65 riders in this front group. A couple of riders have already been tailed off.